Ladies and gentlemen, back to the channel. Today we've got another UFC preview and predictions. The main event this weekend is Leon Edwards and Belal Muhammad. We have got a 13-fight card. A lot of notable names on this one, such as Dan Ige, Gavin Tucker, Ben Rothwell, Felipe Lins, Misha Cirkunov, Ryan Spann, Angela Hill, and Ashley Yoder, to name a few. So it's an all-around pretty damn good card. And folks, if you have not yet, make sure to hit the subscribe button down below for more UFC here on the channel. And now let's get into the predictions. So first up, we've got Jason Witt taking on Matthew Semelsberger. Let's start first with Matthew Semelsberger. So his last fight was a win over Carlton Minus, his only fight so far in the UFC. Beat Carlton Minus by unanimous decision, and since then Carlton Minus has fought and he lost, and now he's been cut from the UFC. So that's Semelsberger's only win so far. It was a unanimous decision win. Again, a pretty good win. Just dominated Carlton Minus throughout that one. Maybe could have got a finish in the third round, but ultimately got the job done. And before that, he fought in various promotions. I mean, you got the CFFCs of the world before the run in the UFC, obviously. And yeah, Semelsberger's got a record of 7-2. A lot of finishes on the feet for Semelsberger. He's going to try to keep this fight standing with Jason Witt, and I think Jason Witt will probably look to take this one down. But again, you can't underestimate the stand-up game of Jason Witt. It is very good as well, but that's got to be the main game plan here for Semelsberger to win this fight. Again, with those 7 wins so far and the Carlton Minus win, it's just tough to say how good that win is, considering Carlton Minus, again, is no longer with the promotion. But yeah, let's move on to his opponent now in Jason Witt. And Witt's last win in the UFC, last fight in the UFC, was a very good performance against a pretty good opponent over in Cole Williams. That was a couple months ago on Halloween, I guess. Not a couple months ago anymore, but it was a win by arm triangle show. Witt was winning the fight on the feet and eventually knocked down Cole Williams and then got the finish with an arm triangle. His first fight in the UFC was a loss to Takashi Sato. Lost that fight in about a minute, got knocked down and finished on the ground by Sato. It's going to happen to you, though. Takashi Sato is a very good fighter, and Witt was coming into that one as a really big underdog. And before that, Witt was on a 4-fight winning streak and now currently holds a record of 18-6. Yeah, only 2 UFC fights under the belt of Witt so far. The Sato fight, it was only a minute. Didn't look great because it was only a minute fight and he got finished within a minute. And the Cole Williams fight looked pretty good. It looked like Cole Williams was outmatched in that fight, if we're being honest with ourselves. Again, it's a tough fight to call here with Jason Witt and with Semelsberger, just because you have a guy who's 1-0 in the UFC, you got a guy who's 1-1 in the UFC, and you just don't know about the opponents they have faced so far. Again, with Witt, right, you beat a guy in Cole Williams, sure, but then you lose to a guy like Takashi Sato. Yeah, because Cole Williams 0-2 in the UFC. Sato, of course, has fought a long time in the UFC, but it's just tough to gauge where this fight's going to go. I'm going to go with Jason Witt just because I did like what I saw in the Cole Williams fight. He won the fight on the feet and eventually got Williams to the ground and won the fight that way. So, yeah, again, I like what I saw. I liked what I saw out of Witt in the first fight. I just don't know what we're going to get here out of Semelsberger, so I'm going to take Jason Witt here. I'll go by decision victory. I think he'll be able to get this fight at the ground and keep it there. So yeah, we're going with the Witt win. All right, so next up we are here in the women's strawweight division between Gloria De Paula and Jinh Yu Frey. We'll start here with Gloria De Paula. So she comes off the Contender Series, got a pretty big win. It was a pretty dominant win by unanimous decision over in the finale of the 2020 Contender Series in November. And then before that, picked up a win over in Brazil and then lost a fight before that. So yeah, she is 2-1 in her last 3 fights. And an overall record for Gloria De Paula of 5-2. Yeah, she only has 7 fights so far on the pro record. It's a little bit concerning. She's been a pro since 2017, but again, you're making your debut in the UFC against a former Invicta atomweight champion. A little bit concerning for Gloria De Paula, but what do we know about Gloria De Paula? Really good stand-up game, a lot of power for a 115 pounder. The ground game is not horrible, but it's really the stand-up game that Gloria De Paula does excel in. You did see in the Contender Series fight, she was able to take her opponent down multiple points in that fight, but it was really, again, the stand-up game was where she was good at. So that's Gloria De Paula. Again, only 7 pro fights to date, but she takes on Jinh Yu Frey, and Jinh Yu Frey's UFC run has been weird. I mean, she comes into the promotion after kind of being the Invicta atomweight champion. She gets stripped of the title because she can't make weight, so she wins the fight, though, that was supposed to be for the title, but she doesn't actually get the title because she missed weight by 0.8 pounds. Confusing. And then before that, she went to Rise and tried to challenge for their atomweight championship. Didn't get the job done, and then, of course, before that, won the Invicta atomweight championship, too. And the Kay Hansen fight was Jinh Yu Frey's first fight in the UFC. wasn't great, lost the first 2 rounds, and then eventually in the 3rd round got submitted by an armbar against Kay Hansen. And then her second fight was a fight against Loma Lukmany, where Loma Lukmany basically just controlled the fight wherever it went, just controlled Jinh Yu Frey in the stand-up, and that's about it. I mean, the problem I have with Jinh Yu Frey in the UFC is, well, yeah, 115 is not her weight class. She is an atomweight trying to fight at strawweight, and we've seen this happen before in the UFC. Obviously, I think the prime example is Michelle Waterson, of course, was the Invicta atomweight champion. Then she goes into the UFC. Obviously, they don't have atomweight, but it took her a couple years to finally get into the elite of the strawweight division. Did Michelle Waterson, and for Jinh Yu Frey, I mean, you're taking your 3rd fight now at strawweight. She's only been fighting at strawweight since June of 2020, and now, given Gloria De Paula is not at the top, obviously, of the 115 division, I think this is the perfect fight for Jinh Yu Frey. If you're going to get a win here, I mean, if you're going to get a win in the UFC, this is it against Gloria De Paula. It's going to be a tough fight because she's probably going to have to get this one to the ground. But the thing is, Gloria De Paula's ground game is pretty good too. And like Jinh Yu Frey's stand-up game is not the greatest. So it's a tough path to victory in this fight for Jinh Yu Frey. Basically fighting for for a contract unless the UFC does make the atomweight division, which I think they should at this point. I mean, we got a 145-pound division with, what, 4 fighters? I think it's about time you at least try out the 105 weight class. I mean, hell, you could start off with a couple fighters at 105. I know definitely probably Michelle Waterson would go down. I know Jinh Yu Frey would definitely go down. There's a couple other fighters that we can mention too, but I feel like it's time for a 105-pound weight class. But going back to this fight, Jinh Yu Frey and Gloria De Paula, again, another really tough fight to call because Gloria De Paula coming off that 1 win on the Contender, and then Jinh Yu Frey, the 2 losses to Lukmany and to Kay Hansen. Yeah, I'm gonna go with Jinh Yu Frey just because I picked her twice so far in the UFC. I'm gonna pick her again. All right, if Jinh Yu Frey doesn't win this fight, she's going back to Invicta or wherever. I don't think she's gonna win this fight on the feet, obviously. She's probably gonna have to look for a takedown on this one, probably just keep this fight on the ground. Again, it's a very tough task for Jinh Yu Frey. I'm not confident at all in this pick. I wouldn't be confident going either way on this one, but I'm gonna go Jinh Yu Frey by decision, just hoping she can get this one to the ground and kind of control the pace there. So a really good fight now between Jonathan Martinez and Davy Grant. We'll start first with Davy Grant, who's been in the UFC surprisingly since 2013. He was in the Ultimate Fighter season with Ronda Rousey and Miesha Tate. He did lose the finals of that show to Chris Holdsworth by rear naked choke, and that was in 2013. He takes 3 years off, and then eventually he goes back. He fights, because I believe he had a torn meniscus. Yeah, he had a torn meniscus. So took 3 years off, comes back, fighting on the Silva Bisping card over in London, beats Marlon Chito Vera in your 2nd fight in the UFC. Goes back, loses a couple fights, loses the latter of the 2 to Manny Bermudez by triangle choke over in Germany in about a minute, and then comes back, picks up 2 wins, the latter being Martin Day over on UFC 251 over in Abu Dhabi. Of course, that was Masvidal and Usman. So Grant is coming off a 2-fight winning streak right now. Obviously, he is known for the ground game. We've seen it in the past. He's very good on the ground, but he's very susceptible of being submitted. Now, Jonathan Martinez is not going to submit Davy Grant in this fight. I feel pretty confident in saying that. So the game plan is pretty obvious here for Davy Grant. You got to take Jonathan Martinez to the ground because we just saw Jonathan Martinez outstrike Frankie Saenz and Thomas Almeida in back-to-back fights, and did pretty well against Andre Ewell in their fight over in Houston. So I don't think Davy Grant's going to be able to really contend with Jonathan Martinez on the feet. If I'm keeping it real with you, I don't really like the matchup here for Davy Grant. I just don't. I think the main thing for him, you got to get this one down, but that's a big ask against a guy like Jonathan Martinez. So let's talk about Martinez. And the last win for Jonathan Martinez, the last fight against Thomas Almeida, was great. Hey, I called that fight, but it was the first fight that Thomas Almeida lost that was against the elite of the division. And that's nothing against Jonathan Martinez, but it's showing like the guys that Thomas Almeida has lost to before the Martinez fight. All right, you got Cody Garbrandt, former champion. Jimmy Rivera has been a staple of the top 10 for a while. Rob Font, who's like number 3 now in the division. And then it's Jonathan Martinez. So that's a huge win for Jonathan Martinez against a guy like Thomas Almeida, who's about to fight Sean O'Malley in, 3 weeks now? So that's an all-right fight, I guess. I think Sean O'Malley will probably be able to get the job done in that one. But Martinez just outclassed Thomas Almeida on the feet for 3 rounds over on the Brian Ortega Korean Zombie card in Abu Dhabi. Before that, he did beat Frankie Saenz, knocked him out in the 3rd round on the Brunson Shabazian card in August. He did miss weight in that fight. That fight was at 135. This one against Davy Grant is back at 135, apparently, according to Tapology. And yeah, his last win over Thomas Almeida obviously was at featherweight, so going back down to 135 for this one for Martinez. And the UFC run has been pretty good. He comes in the UFC, does lose to Andrei Sokolmov, picks up 2 wins, loses to Audrey Ewell, and then of course the last 2 wins over Frankie Saenz and Thomas Almeida. I think Jonathan Martinez should be able to get the job done in this one. If he can just keep this fight standing, he's gonna win this. I feel pretty confident in saying so. A lot of knockouts on the record so far for Martinez, and the Thomas Almeida fight, he looked very damn good as well. I mean, it's hard to do that to Thomas Almeida on the feet. It really is. And I think he's going to be able to do the same to Davey Grant. Now, again, if Davey Grant can shoot for a takedown and get Jonathan Martinez down, he might have Martinez in a little bit of trouble, but I think Martinez is going to be able to stay away from that, keep this one on the feet. I think he's going to be able to outstrike Davey Grant. I'm so confident I'm going to say TKO in the second round for Jonathan Martinez. So next up, we've got Charles Jourdain taking on Marcelo Rojo. Rojo is making his debut in the UFC, and we will start with him. So his last fight was over 2 years ago. It was in 2019. He picked up a win over in Combate. Pretty big favorite in that fight over in Mexico. He gets the job done in that one by KO in about a minute. And before that, he fought UFC fighter now currently in John Castaneda. He did lose that fight to John Castaneda by arm triangle choke, and that's the fight that got Castaneda into the UFC. Obviously just beat Eddie Wineland most recently. Wineland did not look very good in that fight, but Rojo does lose to Castaneda, and then before that picks up a couple wins over in Combate. I mean, he's been pretty solid over there. He really has. I mean, current record for Rojo of 16-6, and if you just scroll through the record, I mean, he's got a lot of wins by KO and submission. Rojo can get the job done really anywhere the fight takes him. And against Charles Jourdain, it's going to be tough because Jourdain is pretty, I mean, he's better on the feet, obviously, than he is on the ground, but Charles Jourdain is pretty solid on the ground, too, so it makes for a really interesting fight here. Rojo, again, making the debut in the promotion, and it's a tough test. I mean, it really is. Your first fight, you're taking on a guy in Charles Jourdain who has, co-main event in a fight night, I do believe. I think the Korean Superboy fight was the co-main event. I mean, he's fought some pretty good competition in the UFC, has Charles Jourdain, and you're feeding Marcelo Rojo into a fight with him. It's going to be a tough one because Charles Jourdain usually puts on incredible fights, and I know you kind of have that same, you kind of think that way because of the Doo Ho Choi fight, because that fight was incredible, but still, I mean, the Andre Fili fight was pretty competitive, and the Josh Kulibau fight, thought Jourdain won that one, but it was a draw. We'll talk about that in a little bit here, but again, Charles Jourdain always in competitive fights, and for Marcelo Rojo in this one, he's just got to take it to Charles Jourdain. He's got to go for it, because that's really how you beat Charles Jourdain. You see the Andre Fili fight, Fili tried to push the pressure on Charles Jourdain, and it worked for the majority of that fight, and I know Doo Ho Choi kind of did the same thing, but Jourdain ended up knocking out Doo Ho Choi in the second round. So yeah, that's Marcelo Rojo, current record of 16-6. Let's talk about his opponent, and Charles Jourdain. So yeah, again, I thought Charles Jourdain won his last fight. I didn't really get the score on that one. That was on Home Aldana over in October, and if you look at the final scorecards of that fight, you got a 30-27. You got 30-27, 28-29, and a 28-28, so it's a split draw in that fight. Yeah, really? I don't get those scorecards at all, but hey, judges sometimes, am I right? I mean, Jourdain, I think, should be on a one-fight winning streak. I thought he won that fight, if I'm being honest. And before that, he loses to Andre Fili, another close decision over in Las Vegas on iCalvillo. Yes, that was a main event of a fight night at one time. What are we doing, guys? But Fili did get the job done. We got a 28-29, 29-28, 29-28. Eventually, those two were for Andre Fili. And before that, for Jourdain, is the fight he's I think he's most recognizable for is the Doo Ho Choi fight over in Busan, South Korea. Incredible performance. Knocks out Doo Ho Choi in that fight. Earlier I said it was the co-main event. He wasn't. It was the third to last fight. Obviously, Volkan Oezdemir and Alexander Rakic was the co-main event in that card, but it was pretty high on the main card. And before that, his first fight in the UFC was a loss to Desmond Green over in Rochester, New York on the Rafael dos Anjos and Kevin Lee card. Charles Jourdain, great stand-up game, really good strikes from him, a lot of power. Again, you gotta look at the Doo Ho Choi fight. One shot was it to put away Doo Ho Choi, and yeah, I think Charles Jourdain's gonna be able to get the job in this one. I think it's just a big ask for Marcelo Rojo's first fight in the UFC. You're taking on a guy like Charles Jourdain, who's again, look, the UFC record might be a little bit salty. Again, you've got this. He's what 1-2-1 in the UFC. It's a salty UFC record, but if you look at the overall performances of Charles Jourdain, you can tell this dude is a very damn good fighter and a very good striker. And I think Rojo's best shot probably gonna be able to try to take this one to the ground. But you can't forget Charles Jourdain's ground game is pretty good too. So I'm gonna go with the Charles Jourdain decision win. Finally get his first decision win of his career. So we've got a good one now between Ray Rodriguez and Yahya. We'll start first with Ray Rodriguez. Last fight was his promotional debut against Brian Kelleher. I mean, they're not doing him any favors in giving him Brian Kelleher off the bat. Loses that fight in 30 seconds, gets guillotined. I mean, sure, Brian Kelleher, very good fighter. Before that, he comes over from Kape, had one fight over there, beats Andy Perez, and before that, gets a shot in the Contender Series, loses to Tony Gravely, but Tony Gravely, tremendous fighter, what can I say? He beat Jimmy Flick over an Extreme Fight Night in 2019 over there in Tulsa, Oklahoma, so there's a notable win for you, Jimmy Flick, very good on the ground, and hell, I mean, he got a knockout 15 seconds in the second round, and I mean, I'm not saying Jimmy Flick's on the levels of Yahya's grappling, but you could I would say you can make the comparison. Both guys, very good ground game, and of course, I mean, if you don't know, Yahya, tremendous BJJ, and Jimmy Flick, same thing, right? So, Ray Rodriguez does get a win over Jimmy Flick, and before that, lose to Chris Gutierrez by rear naked choke, and then before that, a bunch of wins over in LFA, Fury FC, various promotions. So, Ray Rodriguez coming into this fight with a record of 16-7. His ground game is good. Don't get me wrong. Ray Rodriguez's ground game is very good, and that's probably his best spot. But like, you're fighting Yahya, and Yahya, I mean, just look at him. 20 submission wins. Okay, he's got 26 pro wins, 20 of them by submission, 6 of them by decision. That tells you all you need to know, right? So yeah, Ray Rodriguez's grappling can be very good. It doesn't matter because he's probably gonna lose on the ground against Yahya. It's that simple. So Rodriguez is gonna have to use his striking to win this fight. And yes, we have seen he's able to put fights away with his striking, but just he got submitted by Brian Kelleher in 30 seconds. I know Brian Kelleher's got a really nice squeeze on that guillotine choke, but like, fighting Yahya, and you really gotta go with your BJJ. And hey, I know Anthony Fluffy Hernandez did beat Hofo Vieira a couple months ago, and I don't know if we're gonna get that same thing in this fight, but it's a very tough battle here for Ray Rodriguez. Let's talk about his opponent and the former WEC veteran in Yahya. So I want you to think about this. Yahya has been fighting professionally since 2002. Yeah, okay, another thing to think about. Yahya, he fought for the WEC Bantamweight Championship in 2007. Yeah, the dude's been fighting for a while, okay? You want to hear another really weird stat? He beat Eddie Weiland in 2019 in WEC. He lost to Joseph Benavidez in 2009 in WEC. Lost to Takeo Mizugaki in 2010. Beats Chad Mendes, or loses to Chad Mendes, unfortunately, second fight in the UFC. But, I mean, the dude's been fighting in the promotion for a damn long time, and a lot of good wins. I mean, you got wins over guys such as Johnny Bedford, you got Matthew Lopez, yeah, you got Luke Sanders, and I know those aren't the top guys in the weight class, but they are solid wins for Yahya, and he's only lost in the promotion just a couple times. One loss in 2013, split decision. I mean, what you gonna say? The Joe Soto fight over in 2017, yeah, he probably lost that one, but that's really the only fight where you can go in, where you go into the scorecards and like, all right, Yahya lost this fight. Ricky Simone, I mean, that's gonna happen to you. Ricky Simone is in the top 10 or top 15 of the weight class. That was on UFC 234, and then most recently, he did have a draw against Enrique Barzola over on Leon Oliveira in Brazil in the empty arena card. Yeah, I mean, that fight was pretty early on the card. The scorecards got 29-28, 28-28, 28-28. I do believe that one judge that did score it for a winner gave it to Enrique Barzola, but Yahya's ground game is just incredible. The way to beat him, though, is just, yeah, you stuff a couple takedowns, keep the fight on the feet, and that's how you beat him. I don't think Ray Rodriguez is going to be able to do that. I think Yahya is going to have his way on the ground. I mean, like, you just see the amount of submissions this dude is able to pull off. If he's going to win a fight, most likely, he's going to win it by submission. So, if Yahya takes you to the ground, he's going to fish for some type of submission, and he's probably going to get it. I think Yahya is going to be able to get the job done this one. Like, yeah, Ray Rodriguez's grappling is good, and yeah, his BJJ might be good, but, like, in the end, you're fighting a guy, if he takes you to the ground, this fight is basically over. And I know I kind of said the same thing in the Rodolfo Vieira fight against Anthony Hernandez, and I'll bring that up again. I don't think the same thing's gonna happen. Adolfo Vieira is relatively new to MMA. All right, Yahya has been fighting, again, in the sport since 2002 professionally. The same thing's not gonna happen in this fight. Yahya is gonna be able to take down Ray Rodriguez, and he's gonna have his way on the ground. He's gonna submit him, most likely. I'll be this confident. I say Yahya will get the job done in the first round. I think he's gonna be able to get the job done. His submissions are that damn good. His BJJ is that damn good. Give it to him. Another win in the column for Yahya. Next up at women's flyweight, we have got Courtney Casey taking on JJ Aldrich. We'll start first with JJ Aldrich. Yeah, her last fight was a loss to Sabina Mazo over on UFC 246. Yeah, that was January of last year on Connor and Cowboy. The final scorecards for that one, we had 28-29 for Aldrich and then 2 29-28 for Sabina Mazo. Thought Mazo got the job done, and the judges in the end got that one right. Before that for Aldrich, she beat Lauren Mueller by unanimous decision over in Tampa, Florida on the Joanna Waterson card. And before that, got knocked out by Macy Barber in the second round in Nashville, Tennessee. That's going to happen to you. Macy Barber has got incredible power, and JJ Aldrich, for being honest with themselves, looked very lost in that fight on the feet against Macy Barber. Felt the power once and was like, all right, yeah, I'm not going to win this fight. Kind of like Megan Anderson and Amanda Nunes. Yikes. Before that, for JJ Aldrich, she beats Pauliana Viana on UFC 227 in Los Angeles by unanimous decision, beats Danielle Taylor by unanimous decision, and picks up a couple wins beforehand. And then her first fight in the UFC was a loss to Juliana Lima by unanimous decision over on Shamil Abdurakhimov and Derek Lewis in Albany, New York. And JJ Aldrich's current record professionally of 8-4. Solid stand-up fighter, just a well-balanced fighter in JJ Aldrich. She's gonna do what your opponent, she's gonna do what her opponent is not good at. Courtney Casey, I mean, we've seen her get submitted a couple of times, so I don't know. I mean, JJ Aldrich, she'll just adapt wherever this fight goes. If this fight's gonna stay on the feet, she can fight on the feet. If it's gonna go on the ground, Aldrich can take it to the ground if she needs to as well. So yeah, let's talk about her opponent, Courtney Casey. And yeah, Courtney Casey, I mean, just such an unpredictable fighter. Like, I mean, sometimes she looks very good. For example, the Angela Hill fight. Now, given should she have won that fight? Maybe not, but still, she looked good in the Angela Hill fight over in 2018. And then there's just some fights where Courtney Casey just looks like she doesn't want to be there. Yeah. The Jillian Robertson fight, she got submitted. She got submitted in the third round of that fight, but I mean, sometimes she looks very good. Again, the Mara Romero-Barella fight looked good. Got an armbar in 3 minutes. I know Mara Romero-Barella no longer in the UFC, but it was I would say it was probably Courtney Casey's best win so far in the UFC, other than maybe the Lorena Marcos win back in 2016. But I mean, she looked very good in the Barella fight. Got the fight in the ground immediately. Eventually got an armbar and finished it. Like, it looked really good. But I mean, Courtney Casey, I mean, it's the 9-8 record that's going to stick out, obviously, but look at, I mean, just hear the opponents that Courtney Casey has fought in the UFC. Joanne Calderwood, Randa Marcos, Claudia Gadelia, Jessica Aguilar, sure, we'll throw her in there, Felice Herrick, Michelle Watterson, Angela Hill, Cynthia Calvillo, Jillian Robertson. Very good fighters all around. I mean, really, really good fighters. That is the elite of the weight class. And when you get to the fighters that Courtney Casey does fight who aren't in the elite, or say, not in the top 15, top 20, she beats these fighters. And again, nothing against the Mara Romero-Barellas of the world. And I know she beat Angela Hill, and Angela Hill is a top 15 fighter, but okay, good win there. But like Jessica Aguilar, I mean, she was at one point in the top 10, but not at that point. Randa Marcos has always been floating around the top 20. And then, I mean, it's just solid wins for Courtney Casey in the UFC. JJ Aldrich kind of feels like another one of these fights. Now, do I think Courtney Casey's just going to run right through Aldrich? No, but I think she'll probably do enough to get the job done. If she just fights the way that she fought the Mara Romero-Barella fight, she'll probably beat JJ Aldrich. I think her best way to win this fight is probably going to take this one to the ground. I know Courtney Casey has been submitted in the past, and I talked about how JJ Aldrich can probably adapt to wherever this fight goes. I think Courtney Casey's just going to be able to overwhelm her on the ground, and I think that's going to be her key to victory in this one. So I'm going to go with the Courtney Casey decision win, just going to be able to control the pace on the ground and win the fight. Next up, we've got Darren the Dentist Stewart taking on Eric Yaboy Anders. We'll start first with Darren Stewart. The last fight for him is against Kevin Holland. It was a split decision fight against Kevin Holland over on the Colby Covington Tyron Woodley card in September of 2020. And yeah, I mean, hey, one judge say he beat Kevin Holland, and look at Kevin Holland now. Next week, he will be fighting Derek Brunson in a main event of a card on ESPN on prime time. Yes, they're putting that one late on ESPN. And yeah, I mean, Darren Stewart fought that guy to a split decision. Before that, beats Maki Patola, looked very good in that fight, gets a submission in the first round. And before that, loses to Bartosz Fabinski. That was a Cage Warriors fight. It was sanctioned by the UFC, but just on Cage Warriors. just got dominated in that fight. I wouldn't say dominated, but I mean, just lost the fight. Fabinski, good fighter. What can I say? Before that, for Stewart, beats Jourdain, win by split decision over in Boston. Beats Bavon Lewis by unanimous decision. Loses to Edmund Shabazian by split decision. Had a pretty good fight with him. And before that, beats Charles Byrd, beats Eric Spicely, and then before that, won a 3-fight losing streak to start off his UFC run. Loses to guys such as Carl Robinson and Julian Marquez. Stewart's been fighting in the promotion since 2016. He made his debut over on Ryan Bader and Little Nog 2. Obviously, Ryan Bader did knock out Little Nog in that fight, but Stewart's been fighting the UFC for a while now. He's fought some pretty good opponents. Now, his stand-up game is where he's good at, and I know he submitted Maki Pitola, but the submission against Maki Pitola was as a result of the really good striking of Darren Stewart, and Eric Anders, it's not like Eric Anders is going to take you down either, right? So this is going to be a kickboxing fight. We know Eric Anders has a lot of power. We know Darren Stewart has a lot of power, but Darren Stewart can overwhelm his opponent with his volume at times, but again, it is the one-punch power that can really put away fights for Darren Stewart, and I know he hasn't gotten a finish in the UFC by TKO since 2018, UFC 228, the Charles Byrd fight. So it has been a while, but we have seen he is able to get finishes, i.e. Eric Spicely and Byrd. So that's Darren Stewart coming into this fight with a record of 12-6. Again, just fought Kevin Holland in a really close fight. One judge had it for Stewart in that one, 29-28. So there's that. Let's talk about his opponent, though, in the former Fight Night headliner. I will bring that up every time we talk about Eric Anders. Of course, it's Eric Anders. And of course, how can I forget the two-time Fight Night main eventer and Eric Anders? Both of those were in Brazil. Of course, the first one lost a split decision to Lyoto Machida, and the next one lost to Thiago Santos after the third round. He was just tired as hell. He took that fight on 2 days' notice and lost that one. But hey, Thiago Santos eventually went on to fight for the title, and now Rockage, that fight wasn't good, and then he kind of had Glover Teixeira beat, and then just got submitted in the end. But yeah, Eric Anders, right? So last fight was a loss to Christoph Jotko over in Jacksonville, and before that beats Vinicius Moreira and Gerald Meerschaert back-to-back fights. And I know Vinicius Moreira no longer in the UFC, just got knocked out by Ike Villanueva a couple months ago. But so we're not going to talk about the Moreira win. I mean, everyone kind of beat Vinicius Moreira in the UFC. I do believe he got knocked out 4 straight times, if I'm not mistaken. I know, okay, yeah, got subbed one of them to Paul Craig, but I mean, Vinicius Moreira got finished in all 4 of the UFC fights. But the Gerald Meerschaert win, pretty good one. I mean, yes, Gerald Meerschaert, I mean, what has he done recently? Got TKO'd by Khamzat Chimaev. Alright, and Chimaev was supposed to main event this card. Apparently he's retired. Dana White's never going to let that one go. Apparently he's going to fight in July. Who knows what's going on with Khamzat Chimaev? Let's just hope he is able to fight again, because yeah, the sport is better with Khamzat Chimaev in it, so hopefully he's able to fight later down the road. Of course, again, Dana will never let him up. I mean, hey, Khabib Nurmagomedov's still the 155-pound champion. Exactly. But back to Gerald Meerschaert. So yeah, Anders does beat Meerschaert in that fight, and before that was on a 3-fight losing streak, guys such as Thiago Santos, Elias Theodoru, and Khalil Roundtree Jr. And before that, comes in the UFC, beats Rafael Natal, beats Marcus Perez, loses to Lyoto Machida, and then beats Tim Williams. Eric Anders, of course, just, it's the power. I mean, they're going to bring this up every time he fights. Eric Anders, they're always going to bring it up. The former national champion over at Alabama. He played linebacker. They're going to bring that up in the broadcast a million times. It's the same thing every time. You know, he's the former Cleveland Browns player. I don't think he ever played in the regular season, but he was played in the Canadian Football League. They're going to bring that up every time he fights. But yeah, Anders, I mean, it's obvious. He's got a lot of damn power. It's just going to be a kickboxing fight with Anders and Stewart. It's who you think is the better kickboxer out of the two, and for me, I think it's Darren Stewart. I think it is. I mean, we've seen Darren Stewart go head-to-head with some of the best in the weight class, and I know you can say the same with Eric Anders as well, but he fought a pretty good fight against Kevin Holland. Won a round pretty obviously in that fight, and then, of course, one of the rounds, it could have gone either way, but the Batolo one was pretty big. Again, the reason why he got the submission in that fight is because the striking was so good against Maki Pitolo. Submits him in about 3 minutes, and we've seen him go up against, I mean, he stood with Edmund Shabazian for 3 rounds and just kind of stood with him and traded. that tells you a lot about Darren Stewart. And if he needs to go to the ground, he can go to the ground. If he is getting beat on the feet by Eric Anders, Darren Stewart can go to the ground and he can control a fight on the ground. And I can't say the same about Eric Anders. I can't say, well, if Stewart's winning on his feet, if he's dominating Eric Anders, Anders can easily just go for a double or go for a single and put Darren Stewart on his ass and just try to finish the fight. I don't think that one's possible. I think if Darren Stewart, I think Stewart has that potential, but I don't think it's ever going to get to that point. I think Darren Stewart's going to be able to win this fight on the feet. I think he's going to be able to get a finish. I don't know, because it's really hard to put away Eric Anders. The only time he has been finished is the Thiago Santos fight, and that was a fight he took on 2 days' notice, and he just gassed out, which is, he wasn't preparing to fight that long against the guy who's in the top 5 of the weight class, so it's hard to put away Eric Anders. I don't think Darren Stewart's going to be the guy to do it. I think Stewart is, though, going to win a decision. So next up, it is the return of the UFC of Matheus Nicolau, and he's taken on Manel Kape. And Manel Kape's first fight in the UFC. We're going to start with Manel Kape. His first fight in the UFC, I thought he was going to be Alexandre Pantoja. Coming over from Ryzen, he's the former Ryzen champion. He's beating guys like Kaya Skura, he's beating Mizugaki, and then he loses to Alexandre Pantoja. And, Manel Kape didn't really do anything in that fight. I think he closes a slight favor in that one, and I thought he was going to come out there. I thought he was probably going to win the fight. It did not happen, and if he threw a lot more volume, he probably could have won that one, because Pantoja was not great on that night, and yes, Pantoja did enough to get the job done, but I think that was more Manel Kape just being inactive in that one, just not really throwing as much, and it's surprising he's taking this fight a month later against a guy, Nicolau, who's a good fighter as well. But for Manel Kape, I think it's pretty obvious in this one. He's got to throw a lot more volume, because we've seen Manel Kape can put guys out at 125. He's a very good striker. I know, in Ryzen, a lot of his fights were at 135 as well, but Kape has real knockout power. He does, and if he just throws, he's probably gonna be able to get a finish in this one. I feel that confident, and I feel like if he fights Pantoja again, just puts on a little bit more volume, I think he would be able to win that fight. But that's the thing: can he put on a little bit more volume in this fight? Can he just throw a little bit more? And it's tough to gauge, because you got a guy who's just fought in the UFC, who's really high prospect. He was the backup for Figueiredo and Perez for the title. Manel, or was it Moreno? It was one of those. But Manel Kape, they were high on this guy coming into the UFC. They give him Pantoja off the bat. Pantoja's in the top 5. He needs this one. He really does. Matheus Nicolau, don't get me wrong, good fighter, coming back to the UFC. First run in the UFC was pretty damn good. Surprised they let him go in the first place. Manel Kape needs to win this one. I know it's not a must-win to the point where he's going to get dropped by the promotion if he doesn't win this one, but if Manel Kape can win this one, he'll be back in the top 10, and he'll get some bigger fights in the future. But again, the main thing, you just got to go for it, man. If Manel Kape throws just a little, I can't stress enough, just a little bit more volume, he'll probably win this fight. So let's talk about his opponent, Matheus Nicolau. So very surprising, Nicolau even got dropped by the UFC in the first place. He comes in, 3-fight winning streak, guys such as John Moraga, Luis Smoka, then he loses, gets head kicked by Dustin Ortiz. Alright, sure, that happened. And then he gets dropped, goes to Future FC and Brave, wins 2 fights over there, didn't fight due to the virus and the pandemic, so he takes a year off, then gets re-signed, supposed to fight Tagir Ulanbekov. That fight doesn't happen, and now he's back, and he's fighting Manel Kape. Yeah, because it's supposed to be Ulanbekov again, and now Manel Kape's just coming to this one on short notice. So it's a short notice replacement for Kape and Nicolau. Obviously a different style fighting Manel Kape. Looked good in his 2 fights over in Brazil. Looked pretty good. The first one was a Japanese necktie finish of Alan Gabriel, and the second one was a unanimous decision win over in Brave, but looked really good. And with Matheus Nicolau, okay, good on the feet and good on the ground as well. If the fight's on the feet, Nicolau can hang with the best of them, and on the ground, he's pretty damn good. Really good on the ground, and it's an interesting fight, man, because Manel Kape, yes, we know his striking is very good. His ground game is solid as well, but I would give the ground advantage to Matheus Nicolau, and I would obviously give the striking advantage to Manel Kape. And yeah, I wouldn't say it's exactly a styles fight, but it kind of feels like it, because I honestly think Kape's going to have the advantage on the feet, and Nicolau's going to have it on the ground. And yeah, current record for Nicolau of 15 wins, 2 losses, and 1 draw. The UFC record, man, 3-1. Again, you got a guy who's 3-1 previously in the UFC and then gets cut by the promotion. Again, that's when the UFC was dropping all of their flyweights basically, and then Triple C saved the day and saved the weight class. As for my prediction though in this fight, I'm going with Manel Kape. I am. I mean, I've been high on the guy since he's come over from Ryzen. I thought he was going to be Alexandre Pantoja. I think this guy, Manel Kape, can be a top 5 player in the very near future. I think he is. I think he's a very good fighter coming over from Ryzen. You know, again, the former Ryzen champion beats Mizugaki and Kaya in back-to-back fights, has a close fight with Horiguchi as well. The dude's a really solid fighter, man. And trust me, I think this is going to be his coming out party in this fight. He's going to be able to get the job done. I think he's going to get a statement win. I'm even going to say knockout from Manel Kape in this one. I think he's going to be able to just, okay, the last fight wasn't good. Just didn't throw enough. All right, coming into this fight, just throw a lot of volume in this fight and you're probably going to beat Matheus Nicolau. I think he's going to be able to get the job done. I'm going with Manel Kape, second round TKO finish. Get him on the board in the UFC and put him straight into the top 10. So next up, we've got Angela Hill and Ashley Yoder. I've already talked about this fight. It was supposed to happen what, 2-3 weeks ago? So I'm just going to roll that same video from a couple weeks ago, and I'll talk to you guys after. Prediction stays the exact same. So next up, we have got a fight over in the women's strawweight division. We've got Angela Hill taking on Ashley Yoder. Let's start here with Ashley Yoder. So for last fight, she did go beat Miranda Granger by unanimous decision over in November on the Felder dos Anjos card. Pretty good win for her. I thought Miranda Granger was going to have a pretty good chance to win that fight. Ashley Yoder just dominated. Okay, before that, she loses to Lavinia Ranessa Souza by unanimous decision, loses to Randa Marcos by split decision, beats Cirkunov by unanimous decision, beats Amanda Cooper by split decision, loses to Mackenzie Dern by split decision, loses to Angela Hill by unanimous decision. Again, this is a rematch. Loses to Justine Kish by unanimous decision, and then that's how she got the start in the UFC. Yeah, Ashley Yoder has been fighting a lot in the UFC. Now, the run has not been great, but look at the names again she has fought. Hill, Dern, we'll put Randa Marcos in that conversation. Randa Marcos currently, I do believe, holds the most fights in UFC flyweight history with Jillian Robertson and Roxanne Modafferi. I'm pretty sure that's it. But yeah, so Yoder's 8-6, and don't let the record fool you. She's a pretty good fighter, but she's fought some pretty good fighters in the past. Her ground game's pretty damn good, though. Ashley Yoder's ground game, that's where she has to take this fight. We've seen in the past Angela Hill has been submitted, but her stand-up game is very good. So Yoder can, it's simple, man. This is a striker versus grappler fight. It's pretty, that's how simple I can take it. Ashley Yoder's never been finished in her career, so there's that. Only lost by decision, but she's got to get this one on the ground. She cannot afford to stamp to Angela Hill. It's gonna be like what happened in the first fight. Angela Hill's just gonna dominate on the feet. That was in the Ultimate Fighter show over in 2017, so it's been a while. Actually, it wasn't on their season, I do believe, though. Yeah, it was on the Gaethje Michael Johnson card. The Jesse Taylor Diego Lima fight, right? That was the Ultimate Fighter show finale on that one. But yeah, Yoder loses that one. This is a rematch. Angela Hill's a big favorite for good reason. A lot of people thought she won her last 2 fights. I thought she, I'll talk about that in a second. But yeah, Yoder 8-6. Let's talk about Hill in full. All right, back to those decisions, right? So the last one for Angela Hill was that fight against Michelle Waterson. Let's talk about the Gadelha fight first. I thought Angela Hill won the fight. I picked Claudia Gadelha to win that fight, ended up getting it right, but I definitely thought Angela Hill got the job done. Now, the Michelle Waterson fight, I thought Michelle Waterson won. I picked Michelle Waterson to win the fight. I thought I had it 3-2 for Michelle Waterson. That's how one of the judges had it, the other one had it 49-46. I thought it was either 3-2 for Waterson or 4-1. I didn't see how you give Angela Hill 3 rounds in that fight. I really don't know how you give her 3 rounds in that one. So I thought that one was pretty obvious that Waterson won it. The Gadelha fight definitely, though, I thought Hill won. Before that, for Angela Hill, she beats Loma Lukbani, she beats Hannah Cyphers. Again, Angela Hill's one of these fighters who's been fighting the UFC for a long time. Made the promotional debut in 2014. I know she got cut, though, after losing to Rose Namajunas. Picks up 4 straight wins over in Invicta. Comes back, and they're like, all right, yeah, you can fight Jessica Andrade. Loses that one, beats Yoder, loses to Nina Askarov, beats Marina Moroz, loses to Courtney Casey, loses to Randa Marcos, beats Jodie Escobar, loses to Yang Jianan, and then, yeah, back to the most recent run. Angela Hill's fought nothing but killers at the 115 weight class. I do believe she holds the most fights. She has the record for most fights at 115. She's definitely close. Yeah, she's tied with Randa Marcos, so she's gonna break it again after she fights on Saturday night. Currently holds the record of 12-9, but again, you've talked about the fighters she's fought. These are the losses: Tisha Torres, Rose Namajunas, Jessica Andrade, Courtney Casey, Yang Jianan, Claudia Gadelha, and Michelle Waterson. Come on. I mean, those are all top 10 fighters for the most part. I mean, yeah, pretty good fighters. I would say Courtney Casey's not really on that level. Randa Marcos maybe not as well, but still some pretty damn good fighters. Angela Hill has fought. She should win this fight against Ashley Yoder. She really should. Now, if Yoder gets her down in this one, it could be trouble for Angela Hill, because again, she has been submitted in the past. lost. One is to Rose Namajunas. The other one is to Randa Marcos, but Marcos is pretty good on the ground, and Rose Namajunas is probably challenging for the title, or is it Carla Esparza? Who knows? That should be announced very soon. We'll see who is fighting Zhang Weili for the title soon, but yeah, Angela Hill, even if it does go to the ground, I think she'll be able to avoid a if Yoder does attempt a submission, I think Angela Hill will have enough to get out of it. I don't see Yoder just like controlling this fight on the ground for 3 rounds. That's how I think she most likely gets the job done in this one. Just holds Angela Hill down, looks for submissions, but doesn't get it. I don't think Hill will finish Ashley Yoder, because Ashley Yoder is very hard to finish. Again, she's never been finished in her 14 pro fight, so I'm gonna go with the Angela Hill decision winning this one. I think she probably wins all 3 rounds. I think Yoder will have some moments on the ground in this fight, but I'm gonna go with a pretty dominant performance here for Angela Hill. So now, what a damn fight at 145. We have got Gavin Tucker taking on Dan Ige. We'll start first with Gavin Tucker, and this is Gavin Tucker's time to finally break into the top 10 of the UFC's featherweight division. It is time for him. If there was ever a time for Gavin Tucker, it is right now, because Dan Ige was supposed to be fighting Ryan Hall in this card. Hall had to drop out. Would have been a really interesting fight, but Gavin Tucker, man, so damn good on the ground. And I know he's not on the level of Ryan Hall, but what Gavin Tucker can do that Ryan Hall can't is he can strike very well too. Gavin Tucker is coming off a 3-fight winning streak, wins over Sunwoo Choi by rear naked choke, Justin James by rear naked choke, and Billy Quarantillo by unanimous decision as well. 3 straight wins for Gavin Tucker. He is 4-1 in the UFC, with the one loss being a loss to Rick Glenn. It was in 2017 UFC 215, Yulia Shevchenko 2. I mean, stuff happens, right? Gavin Tucker currently coming in this fight with a record of 13-1. I mean, again, this is his time. 34 years old for Gavin Tucker, but like, if he can win this fight against Dan Ige, it's going to put you straight in the top 10, because Dan Ige is one of these guys, again, who, former Fight Night headliner, fought Calvin Kattar, who was in the top 5 of the division, fought Edson Barbosa and beat Edson Barbosa. Now, what you think of the decision, who knows, but like, this is such a big opportunity here for Gavin Tucker. And Dan Ige, though, is good everywhere too, man. He really is. This is such a damn good fight in the middle of the card. I think this should be co-main event, but it is all right. We are getting it right here. It's a big step up, though, in competition for Gavin Tucker. It definitely is. I mean, you go from Justin James and Billy Quarantillo, who, don't get me wrong, are 2 very good fighters, but you're going from them to a top 10 fighter in Dan Ige, who again went 5 rounds with Calvin Kattar, and one judge had him winning 2 rounds against Calvin Kattar. Right, so Gavin Tucker coming in this fight again with a record of 13-1, just so damn good on the ground. Stand-up game is good as well, but it is the ground game that Gavin Tucker is special at. Let's talk about his opponent, though, in Dan Ige. And yeah, I thought Ige got beat down pretty bad in the Calvin Kattar fight. I thought Kattar won that one pretty convincingly. I mean, if you want to look at the final scorecards going back to that fight over in July, we've got here 49-46, 49-46, 48-47. I had either 49-46 for Kattar or even 50-45. That's a pretty dominant win for Kattar, but Dan Ige, don't get me wrong, stayed in that fight and looked pretty good in that fight. And then before that, the Edson Barbosa fight. Okay, I thought Edson Barbosa won that fight. If you want to look at the scorecards for that one, you got 28-29 for Barbosa, or 29-28 for Barbosa, 29-28 for Dan Ige, 29-28 for Dan Ige. Okay, thought he lost that fight. Then before that, you go to UFC 247, Mirsad Bektic versus Dan Ige. I don't know. I thought Dan Ige maybe won that fight. Just a tough call on that one. I mean, you got 29-28 for Bektic, 29-28 for Ige, 29-28 for Ige. So Dan Ige has been in a lot of close decisions as of late. Obviously, the Calvin Kattar fight was not very close, but those two against Bektic and Barbosa, if those fights don't go his way, yeah, it's a very different story for Dan Ige. And what is Dan Ige good at? Well, basically everything. He's got a really good stand-up game and then also a good ground game as well. And I think Gavin Tucker's ground game is going to be highlighted in this fight, obviously, because of all the finishes he has gotten so far in the UFC on the ground, but you can't forget how good Dan Ige's ground game is too. So it's a good fight for Gavin Tucker, don't get me wrong, with the opportunity here with Dan Ige. And for Dan Ige, I mean, yeah, you're trying to get back in the win column here, but Gavin Tucker going from Edson Barbosa and Calvin Kattar to Gavin Tucker, and Gavin Tucker who's a guy who's not like a prospect anymore, because given he is 34 years old, but it's a guy who's climbing his ranks so far, and in the UFC, only 1 loss so far, he's 4-1. It's just not much to win in this fight for Dan Ige. Kind of like the Ryan Hall fight, but I mean, with Ryan Hall, I mean, you could be the first guy to beat Ryan Hall in the UFC because no one wants to fight Ryan Hall given in the promotion, but it's an interesting fight. It's an interesting fight to say the least. I think Ige probably wins this one on the feet. I like Gavin Tucker's stand-up game, but I think Ige's definitely got the better striking. On the ground, I'm going to give the advantage to Gavin Tucker, even though I do really like what Dan Ige does possess on the ground. I mean, this is a really close fight, and don't let the rankings fool you. Dan Ige is number 9 or number 8, and Gavin Tucker is unranked. Don't even let the Tapology rankings, I mean, the Tapology rankings don't make any sense anyway, but you got Gavin Tucker's number 32 apparently, and Dan Ige who's number 8. This is a very close fight to call. It's a very good fight to call, and you know what? I'm going with Gavin Tucker to pull off the upset. My biggest upset pick so far on this card. I really like Gavin Tucker in this fight. I really do. I think it's a trap fight. Again, a football term I use a lot here on the channel, but it really is. It's a trap fight for Dan Ige. You're supposed to beat Gavin Tucker in this one, but Gavin Tucker coming in this fight, again, only one loss so far in his professional career. It is to Rick Glenn, and that was 4 years ago. If you want to look back, Sung Woo Choi dominated that fight on the ground. Same with the Justin James fight, and Billy Quarantillo. I mean, it's hard to beat Billy Quarantillo down like that. Won that one on UFC 256. Look at the final scorecards for that fight. We have got 30-27s across the board. It was pretty dominant for Gavin Tucker. The ground game for Gavin Tucker is overwhelming for a lot of fighters. He's able to swarm on you on the ground and keep you down for multiple points in the fight and make you, or force your opponent to make a mistake. That's what Gavin Tucker does so damn well. And now, I'm not saying he's going to submit Dan Ige, because that is very tough to do. Dan Ige has never been finished in the 17 fights he has fought so far in his career. Same with Gavin Tucker, hasn't been finished in the 14 fights he has fought either, but I think Gavin Tucker is going to be able to make Dan Ige make a mistake. Now, I don't know if he's going to be able to finish Dan Ige on the ground, but I think he's going to do enough. Just control the fight on the ground, really outwork Dan Ige in some of the scrambles here, outwork him in some transitions on the ground, and I'm going to go with the Gavin Tucker unanimous decision win. Big upset pick here, but we're going with the governor, Gavin Tucker. We have now got Ben Rothwell. He's back, taking on the former PFL $1 million winner in Felipe Lins, and we will start Felipe Lins, and Felipe Lins' UFC run has been just terrible, man. I mean, he comes in, loses to Andrei Arlovski in a fight that Felipe Lins was definitely supposed to win, but comes in that fight, takes some bombs from Andrei Arlovski, like some bombs from Arlovski. Stays in the fight, just loses it by unanimous decision over in Jacksonville, Florida in May of 2020. Look at the final scorecards of that fight. You have got 30-27s across the board, except for one judge who had it 29-28 for, obviously, Andrei Arlovski. I thought it was 30-27 pretty convincingly for Arlovski. Felipe Lins just looked slow in that fight, just couldn't get going in that one. That's okay, because you're fighting a former UFC champion in your first fight in the promotion. That is all right. You come back, you take on Tanner Boser in your second fight, and you get knocked out by Tanner Boser in 2 minutes. Yikes. Yeah, Tanner Boser put Felipe down pretty early in that fight. Felipe Lins, given, I think it was a lot of, you're coming back so quickly after fighting Andrei Arlovski. I mean, it's like a month later, he's coming back, he's taking on Boser, and Boser puts him down pretty easily. Not the Felipe Lins we saw in PFL. The Felipe Lins we saw in PFL was pretty damn good. 4-0 in his run over in 2018. I know he did fight in Bellator as well, lost to Nemkov and a couple guys over there as well, but Lins looks really good in PFL. It looked like a potential maybe top 15 guy in the UFC. Arlovski fight wasn't great. Boser fight wasn't great. Lins looked very slow in his 2 fights in the UFC so far. His striking looked slow. I know he got that big contract too. I mean, he made like what, 5 times as much as Tanner Boser did in their fight. But yeah, Lins is coming to this one with a record of 14-5. I just don't know what Felipe Lins we're gonna get in this fight. Are we gonna get PFL Felipe Lins, who's looking for the finish at all times, or are we gonna get UFC Felipe Lins, who's not great? And I know Ben Rothwell is not the best of opponents, but I mean, Ben Rothwell is a former top 5 fighter in the weight class, and you saw what he did to Ovince St. Preux. He outstruck Ovince St. Preux for 3 rounds, and I know he got knocked down at the very end of that fight, but he looked good in that one. And he beat Stefan Struve, even though Struve was definitely winning that fight. Rothwell kicks him Rothwell kicks him in the nuts 3 times, and then eventually finishes him. Thanks, Dan Murgliata, for that one. But I don't know. I just don't know if Lins is gonna do this one. I just don't know. He looked very bad. I'm just gonna keep it real. He did not look good in the last 2 fights. He did not. If you look bad against Arlovski and Boser, Ben Rothwell, kind of a brawler, but still, Rothwell's going to pick the shots, and he's probably going to beat up Felipe Lins. Overall, though, let's talk about Ben Rothwell. And big Ben Rothwell. The Marcin Tybura fight was not great for Ben Rothwell. I thought he was going to win that one. Obviously, that did not happen for us. Marcin Tybura surprisingly just outstruck Ben Rothwell. And yes, Ben Rothwell did look slow in that fight. as well, but I mean, I'm just going to keep it simple with you. When you're looking at this fight, Ben Rothwell should be able to beat Felipe Lins. The Felipe Lins we saw in the last 2 fights in the UFC, Ben Rothwell, say what you want about the guy, he's going to run right through Felipe Lins. And I don't think Ben Rothwell is going to have to go to the ground game, because I think Felipe Lins' ground game is very underrated. He doesn't go to it. He doesn't go to it as much as he should. This is going to be a stand-up fight, and Ben Rothwell, I mean, yeah. Felipe Lins is not going to put away Ben Rothwell. Ben Rothwell has taken some bombs from the best in the UFC over the last couple years. Okay, he took some bombs by JDS. He did not go down in that fight. Blagoy Ivanov did not go down. Arlovsky took a lot of damn shots by Arlovsky, but stayed on his feet. Tybura took some bombs as well. It's very hard to put away Ben Rothwell. The last guy to do it is Cain Velasquez in Rothwell's UFC debut, UFC 104. Machida Shogun won, I do believe. Yes, this is the first encounter. Shogun won that fight, but it's okay. I mean, judges gave it to Machida. Who cares? That fight was 10 years ago, but I mean, or over 10 years ago. God, that was 2009. Crazy. But Rothwell lost that fight to Velasquez. That's the last time he's been finished. Okay, that's saying a lot. And before that, he got KO'd in Affliction by Andrei Arlovsky. Oh, remember Affliction? Oh, yikes. But yeah, Rothwell, I don't see Felipe Lins finishing Ben Rothwell. I don't think it's going to happen, especially the Lins that we've got in the last 2 fights. If I'm being honest, the opposite's going to happen. Ben Rothwell is going to finish Felipe Lins in this fight. He's probably going to knock him out. And I know we haven't gotten a Ben Rothwell finish in the UFC since the Struve one, and I know the Struve one's basically, well, Ben Rothwell, yeah, I'm down 3 rounds basically because I got deducted 3 points. Just got to go for it. Just started swinging, and he got the win. And before that, you got to go to the last TKO finish. You got to go Alistair Overeem over in September of 2014 on Jacare Gegard Mousasi over in Connecticut. It's been a while, but I think Ben Rothwell's going to be able to get the job done here. Don't think he's going to go to the ground. I think he's just going to overwhelm Felipe Lins in the feet. I mean, that's kind of what Arlovsky did. Just got in his face and started throwing strikes. I think Rothwell's going to do the same. Give it to him. Ben Rothwell, I think he puts away Felipe Lins and unfortunately sends Lins back to the PFL. Now in our co-main event of the evening, we have got Ryan Spann taking on Misha Cirkunov. We'll start with Ryan Superman Spann. And Spann's last fight in the UFC was a loss to Johnny Walker in a fight where he had Johnny Walker hurt. And he should have won that fight. But Johnny Walker just landed some absolutely insane shot and he lost the fight 2 minutes into the first round. Yeah, yikes. But Ryan Spann before that goes on a pretty big winning streak, beats guys such as Sam Alvey, Devin Clark, he beats Lil Nog. I mean, just a lot of good wins on the record for Ryan Spann. Obviously came into the UFC off the Contender Series, was the former LFA light heavyweight champion as well. And yeah, Ryan Spann has looked good so far in the UFC, with the one exception being the Johnny Walker fight. And again, a fight that he probably should have won if he just stepped back, picked his shots. Johnny Walker was absolutely, he didn't know where he was, just throwing random shots. And yeah, Ryan Spann got caught with one of them. But Ryan Spann's ground game is very good. But the same thing it can be the case with Misha Cirkunov. Misha Cirkunov's ground game is incredible too. I mean, you got the wrestling of Cirkunov, obviously the BJJ black belt in Cirkunov as well. So 2 guys who are very good on the ground. And I think we're going to get one of these fights with Spann and Cirkunov. It's 2 really good grapplers going to cancel each other out. I think we're going to get a striking fight in this one. That's how I see this fight going. So you got to look at the striking for Ryan Spann. He outstruck Sam Alvey for 3 rounds. And Sam Alvey's that fighter, that old school brawling style that will just stand in the middle of the octagon and trade shots with you. Spann did that for 3 rounds over on UFC 249, the first fight back after the pandemic. I mean, the pandemic's still going, but like, yeah, obviously the one in Jacksonville. And Spann won a brawling fight with Sam Alvey, and that's pretty hard to do. He won that by split decision. Thought Spann won that one pretty easily, or I wouldn't say easily, but 2 rounds to 1. Yeah, I mean, if you can do that to Sam Alvey, and I know Misha Cirkunov is better than Sam Alvey all around, but striking-wise, yeah, I mean, if Ryan Spann can do that to Sam Alvey, he probably can do that to Misha Cirkunov striking as well. The problem is, Misha Cirkunov's grappling is a lot better than Sam Alvey's grappling. So that's Ryan Spann, current record of 18-6. Obviously, the ground game is good, a lot of good submissions. He's only been submitted once in his career. That was at LFA 3 over, or no, that wasn't LFA 3. It was on Legacy 58 in 2016. It's been a while. So, but again, if he's gonna get submitted, it might be by Cirkunov. I don't think it's gonna happen. So let's talk about his opponent, Misha Cirkunov. And Misha Cirkunov's last fight showed how dangerous he is. I mean, he beat Jimmy Crute and he submitted Jimmy Crute 3 minutes in the first round, Cowboy Gaethje over in Vancouver, British Columbia. I mean, since then, man, Jimmy Crute has looked very damn good. 2-fight winning streak. Now he's about to fight Anthony Smith. He's a top 10 fighter. So Cirkunov's last win is very huge. Now, he did not fight in 2020. He was supposed to fight Spann over in December. But yeah, I mean, Cirkunov's wrestling is very good and his ground game is very good. And again, I can't stress to you how big the Jimmy Crute win is. Jimmy Crute has not lost in the UFC or in his professional career other than the Misha Cirkunov fight. And I know Cirkunov, we've seen him get outstruck multiple times in his career. Johnny Walker's a prime example of that. Got finished in 30 seconds. I know before that he submitted Patrick Cummings, cool, but TKO'd by Glover Teixeira, TKO'd by Volkan Oezdemir. All right, you're talking about some really good fighters here. Volkan Oezdemir fought for the title. Glover Teixeira's about to fight for the title, and Johnny Walker's in the top 10. So those are some really good opponents that Cirkunov has lost to, and the guys he's beat, man. Jan Kutalaba, Nikita Krylov. He submitted Nikita Krylov. That's huge, man. And Jimmy Crute's huge. I know Patrick Cummings is not on the level of those guys, but a lot of big submissions in the career for Misha Cirkunov. But my problem with this one for Cirkunov is he's fighting a guy in Ryan Spann who is very tough to submit and has a really good ground game as well. Spann's striking is good. Cirkunov's striking is all right as well. But the ground game for both these guys, I think is going to cancel out. I think we're going to see a striking fight in this one. And the way I see it, if it's a striking fight, Ryan Spann is going to win. If it's a striking fight, Spann's got this one in the bag, I feel like. Cirkunov's striking is good, don't get me wrong, but Ryan Spann, we've seen in the past, he's been able to go into fights and just absolutely finish his opponents on the feet. Big example. One look at the Lil Nog fight. Over on UFC 237, over in Brazil, May of 2019, he puts away Lil Nog, and say what you want about Lil Nog's chin at the time, but goes in there and just absolutely beats him down. I mean, it only took 2 minutes for Ryan Spann in that one to put away Lil Nog, a legend in the sport. I know his chin was not there, but we've seen in the past Spann's been able to knock guys out, and he almost had Johnny Walker, and I mean almost had him. He had him on the ropes. He had him against the cage. He had him. If Spann just settled down on that one and not absolutely just run right into Johnny Walker's punches or right into his elbow, he probably would have won the fight. I know it's easier said than done, but I think Spann's gonna be able to get the job done in this one. I don't think this one's gonna hit the mat. I think these two guys' grappling abilities are gonna cancel out in this one. I think we're gonna see a striking fight. And again, if it's a striking fight, Ryan Spann will win this one. So I think Spann gets the job done, moving up to a record of 19-6. So now it is time for the main event of the evening. We have got Belal, remember the name Muhammad, taking on Leon Rocky Edwards here in our main event. We'll start first with Belal Muhammad. Quick turnaround, and I mean quick turnaround. Last fight, February 13th, 2021. Obviously, Usman Burns. He beat Diego Lima by unanimous decision, and that was as unanimous as you can get because it was a dominant performance for Belal Muhammad in that fight. Classic Belal Muhammad performance. Takedowns, takedowns, takedowns. A little bit of striking. Good striking. Takedown, takedown, takedown. That's a Belal Muhammad fight. I mean, the Lehman good fight before that, more the same. He did actually look pretty good on the feet in that fight. Before that, beats Takashi Sada by rear naked choke, beats Curtis Millender by unanimous decision, loses to Jeff Neal in a fight where Jeff Neal kept that fight standing and he's able to beat Belal Muhammad. And then, of course, I mean, a lot of wins beforehand, and guys such as Randy Brown, Jordan Main, Tim Means, Chase Ren Couture, lose to Vicente Luque before that by KO. Gonna happen to you. And lose to Alan Jouban as well. Belal Muhammad, obviously, man, I mean, the toughest opponent he has fought in Leon Edwards. You're going from Diego Lima, no offense to Diego Lima, but you're going from Lima to Leon Edwards, who's number 3 in the weight class. It is a tough fight for Belal Muhammad here. What can Belal Muhammad do to win this fight? He's got to just go for the takedowns, and I know Leon Edwards is hard to take down, but if Muhammad can get a couple takedowns in the first round and just rinse and repeat for 5 rounds, that's how he wins. And I know this is going to be the first time Belal Muhammad's ever fought in a 5-round fight, but that's what he's going to have to do in this one. He's got to push Leon Edwards back against the fence in this one. He's going to just have to, again, control the fight on the ground for 5 rounds. I don't think Belal Muhammad's going to be able to get a finish. It's not often you see Belal Muhammad get finishes in the UFC. And he's got to find a way to limit the striking of Leon Edwards, because Leon Edwards' striking is very impressive. I don't think Belal Muhammad can hang with the striking of Leon Edwards, even though Leon Edwards has not fought since, 2019? Yeah, July of 2019. I mean, ring rust is a thing, but I don't think Belal Muhammad's going to stand a chance on the feet with Leon Edwards. The ground, though, is interesting. And I know Leon Edwards really has not been... I mean, he hasn't been beat on the ground in a while. Obviously, the last fight he did lose was to Kamaru Usman over in 2015, December of that year. But that's the way he's got to beat him. Because Edwards is such a big step up in opponents. It is. And I think if Leon Edwards stuffs a couple takedowns in this one in the first round, he'll probably win this fight. It's just, the big thing in this fight will be the first round, and it's can Belal Muhammad get this one on the ground? No? Okay, Leon Edwards wins this fight. That's how simple I'm going to keep it. That's Belal Muhammad coming to this fight with a record of 18-3. Let's talk about his opponent here, Leon Edwards, who also has a record of 18-3. And yeah, I mean, it's tough to talk about Leon Edwards' history in the UFC just because it's been so long ago. And I know he was active before the whole pandemic, but I mean, we'll go through those last 3 fights. He beats Cowboy Cerrone in a main event in Singapore. Pretty dominant in that fight. I think you got a 49-46 in there and then 2 48-47, if I'm not mistaken. After that, he beats Gunnar Nelson by split decision, sure, in England. After that, he gets punched in the face by George Masvidal. Don't know why that fight never happened, but okay. And then after that, he beats Rafael Dos Anjos in a main event over in San Antonio, Texas. Wins that fight by unanimous decision. Pretty dominant performance in that one. He got a 50-45 and 2 49-46s in that one for Leon Rocky Edwards. Again, he hasn't lost since 2015. This winning streak includes names such as Vicente Luque, Brian Barberena, Peter Sabata, and then, of course, the last 3 guys we did mention in Cowboy, Gunnar, and RDA. Edwards just got to keep this fight standing, and I feel good about his ground game in this one. Now, I don't think he wants to be on his back in this fight. You definitely don't want to be against Belal Muhammad, but we've never seen Muhammad in a 5-round fight. I know we've only seen Edwards in this twice, but Edwards has been there and done that before in a main event of a fight night. It's a short nose for Muhammad as well. I'm going to keep this simple with you. Leon Edwards is winning this fight. His striking is going to be too much for this one for Belal Muhammad. You might see Belal Muhammad land a couple takedowns in the first and second round, potentially win those first 2 rounds, but then eventually the gas tank's going to catch up to Belal Muhammad. He's been used to fighting in 3-round fights his entire career, and I think Leon Edwards, he's been used to this. He's been fighting 5-round fights for a while. He's been waiting for this opportunity for, 400 days at this point. He hasn't fought. The Woodley fight was this point last year, right? Edwards is going to win this one. He's going to keep this fight standing. He's going to stuff a couple takedowns from Belal Muhammad. And yes, he might give up a couple, but he's going to I think he'll be able to get back to his feet. He's going to be able to outstrike Belal Muhammad in this one. Do I think he gets a finish? No. I think Leon Edwards is probably just going to dominate this fight for 5 rounds. Actually, I don't think he's going to dominate it. I think Belal Muhammad will have his moments. I think he probably will win the first round, but I don't think he's going to win I don't think he's going to win a round after that. I think Leon Edwards will probably win rounds 2 through 5 in this one. I'm going to go Leon 49-46 in this one. Keeps his spot at number 3 in the rankings. I don't know where you go with Leon Edwards from here, because it's tough to give him a title shot. Again, nothing against Belal Muhammad, but Belal Muhammad's number 13 in the weight class. You're not giving Edwards a title shot after this. He's not fighting Usman again for the title. He didn't fight him originally for the title, but he's not getting a rematch with Kamaru Usman after winning over Belal Muhammad. I think the fight to make is probably Stephen Wonderboy Thompson. It's a fight I've been wanting to see for a while, ever since Wonderboy politely called Leon Edwards out, and Leon Edwards told him to just basically go F off. That's actually what he said. I think this got to be the fight to make. Edwards and Wonderboy, 2 very good strikers. I really want to see that fight. Or Edwards Masvidal, but we know damn well George Masvidal is not taking that fight. Just because, hey, why would you take that fight if you got a Kamaru Usman fight basically waiting for you? And the Ultimate Fighter. Again, I hate that thing. I don't know why that's happening, but I mean, I would wait too, right? So, yeah, I think Edwards wins this fight, and I say you match him up probably with Stephen Wonderboy Thompson. I think that's the fight probably to make. And folks, thank y'all for watching this hour plus long video here on the channel here with Leon Edwards and Belal Muhammad. If you have not yet, make sure to hit the subscribe button down below. Leave a like as well if you did like the video. Also leave a comment down below if you disagree with me on any of my picks. I'm sure to debate you down in the comments as well. And again, folks, thank y'all for watching. Make sure to hit the subscribe button down below for more. And Mamba forever.